So on this week's episode, we are instead going to pivot. We're going to talk about Minnehaha Falls and surrounding parks. We're going to do a little look into the future.
Some might call it a gimmick.
Or some might call it clairvoyancy, Nostradamian
Clairvoyance.
segment.
Yes.
Where we think about what housing might look like
In the future.
This must be the place. Yeah, this must be the place. Ain't no time to waste. Ain't no time to waste. So whether you in Minneapolis or St. Paul, Bloomington to Maple Grove, from the east side to the west side, down south to way up north, let me hear you say, this must be the place. Yeah, this must be the place. This must be the place. Ain't no time to waste. Ain't no time to
Hello, and welcome to This Must Be the Place, the Twin Cities'
Okay.
only real estate and real estate adjacent podcast, where one of the hosts is considering opening up a dystopian Handmaid's Tale style wedding shop called Bride of Ownership.
That's
The reason I bring this up
that's
is because I was looking at a listing the other day on the MLS, and this phrase, pride of ownership.
pride of ownership. I
Yeah.
would have never made the connection.
Oh, okay. Bride of ownership was the dystopian wedding shop that
Yes.
one of us is opening. But
Not that.
a
not
look,
that.
a look behind the curtain, realtors know, and this is a little hint for buyers. If you're ever house shopping and you see in the description, pride of ownership as a marketing point,
Yeah.
that means, for all you buyers out there, that the house has been owned by the same owner for the last 50 years.
Without an
It
update.
means there's been no, it doesn't mean the house hasn't been loved. It might, structurally it may be very, very sound, but it means there's no updates and the house has been owned by one owner for 50 years. Pride of ownership equals that.
Charming.
Yes, there's
Quaint.
many other adjectives after the pride of ownership, but bride of ownership.
Don't you wish that there was like how Key and Peele had Obama anger translator?
Loved it.
Don't you wish there was maybe we're big into AI now. If you could look at a home's description and get like the real lowdown, that's what I want. I want
Talk about $1 million ideas.
I want
from the other
reality.
week.
You know what I mean? Like we want to know what's going on before we walk into some of these houses.
Agreed. Pride of ownership. Anyway, welcome everyone. So, in this episode, as previously mentioned, we did have a lovely conversation with an amazing guest, professional basketball player. But we're just, we're going to have him back on in the studio.
We are
at
going to
some
have him
point.
back on. I'm going to plug him though real quick. Austin Hollins, former University of Minnesota basketball star, played all 4 seasons here, 3 under Tubby Smith, 1 under Patino, won the NIT championship,
MVP.
was voted the MVP of the NIT tournament one year, has been playing professional basketball all over Europe for the last decade. And we actually caught him on a plane headed to Turkey, and he was kind enough to talk with us about his experiences, not only playing basketball and the difference culturally between American basketball and European basketball, his favorite place to play, which oddly enough, Serbia, because the fans are just high-level basketball knowledge, rabid basketball fans. And now he's in Turkey, where he is on a contract with a team in Turkey. And additionally is putting out a new album that he just put out because he's a musician, talented producer, artist, writer, and it's called Soundtrack of Life, and it will be released everywhere February 28th on all platforms. His artist name is Preach, capital Preach, and you should check it out. I wanted to plug it because we're not going to obviously be able to get him back on before that album drops, But when he is back in Minnesota this summer, we're for sure going to have him in the studio. But he's a great dude, incredible basketball player, better person. So shout out Austin. If I didn't screw it all up with the technology, we would have a very choppy interview with your trash Turkish internet and our FaceTime. We love you, man. Friend of the pod. All right, what do we got?
All right.
Minnehaha Falls? Are we starting with the falls?
We'll start with a little neighborhood watch. So,
And now, this must be the place. Presents Neighborhood Watch.
I was thinking kind of about, what neighborhoods haven't we done? What would be cool to spotlight? And then I was like, hey, my backyard is Minnehaha Falls.
That's not a neighborhood.
It's not a neighborhood, no. And so I was thinking, you know what? Let's think outside the box here a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
what constitutes a neighborhood? What constitutes a neighborhood?
There we go. What constitutes a neighborhood? Generally, when we talk about specific neighborhoods in Minneapolis and or St. Paul, but Minnehaha Falls and Minnehaha Falls Regional Park is such an iconic, important, huge part of the soul of the Twin Cities.
Ooh.
I just came up with that.
That was impressive.
That I think it deserves its own segment. If you're from here and if you're watching or listening to this, you most likely are. You know the area, Minnehaha Falls Regional Park. I live very close to it. I live on the other side of Hiawatha, kind of closer to Lake Nokomis, but it's been the most important geographical place other than my home since my kids have been born. It's where we walk every week, not now, but in the spring, summer, and fall. Family memories with the dog and my kids and my wife going down there to get ice cream and all. There's events down there. Anyway, everybody knows Minnehaha Falls, but I wanted to talk about it because what is it, Casey? How long has it been around? What has been the process to get it to where it is today?
It started in about 1942 when
Grossly
they
incorrect.
released a bunch of water into the trans-spillway known as the Minnehaha Creek. And then the process has taken about 30 years to get it to where it is today, where they've hand-shoveled the falls, one scoop at a time, Shawshank Redemption style, and brought the dirt to the Mississippi River Valley where they shook it out of their pant legs.
Yep.
And so, as far as I know, that's the
not very far
backstory
off.
to the falls.
That's pretty close, actually.
Yeah, unless you've heard other things.
Well, my history I read about it and have learned about it is a little different. I'll talk about it,
Wikipedia?
I guess. A little dusting of Wikipedia, but not exclusively. So it's in, obviously, the border of Minneapolis and St. Paul in southeast Minneapolis.
Yep.
It ends up
46th Street or so. I mean, actually, Minnehaha Parkway.
Minnehaha Parkway.
South of 46th
Yeah,
Street.
south of 46th Street. Yep. The Dairy Queen there. On
Street or Ave?
46th. South of 46th Street. Streets in
Yeah,
Minneapolis go east and west.
Yes,
Avenues
that's
go
right.
north and
That's
south.
right. That's
Makes
right.
a lot of sense. Unlike
We don't do that in St. Paul.
No, St. Paul is just the Wild West of naming streets with no.
You can start on a street, that street will end, and then 3 miles later, that street will pick right back up.
Yep.
Like it never left off.
Yep.
Tried delivering pizza in St. Paul.
Oh, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine.
It was you had to learn a lot about.
Yeah, you're like, it doesn't make sense.
Especially
you're on
with
like
35E
Laurel, and then there's
cutting
like
things off.
Juliet, and then Grand, and I mean, there's
You
just
needed
no
to be
rhyme or reason.
alphabetical order.
Yeah, and avenues to go north and south, and streets to go east and west, and alphabetically, like Abbott,
No,
Beard,
that's boring.
Chowan.
It's boring.
Oh, okay.
Boring.
Anyway, so Minnehaha Falls, the source. Do you know where the source is?
Mother Earth.
Correct. Again,
Lake Minnetonka.
Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah.
Yes, 22 miles west northwest of the falls is Lake Minnetonka.
Yep.
So as rain falls and snow melts, does the falls erupt?
Yes.
That's a long way of saying
Yes.
it's dependent on
Yes.
on snow thawing and rainwater for the falls to be as robust as it sometimes can be.
Yes.
Do you know how tall the waterfall is?
53 feet.
God damn.
I do know that.
Yes, it is 53 feet.
Yeah.
So back in the late 1700s, early 1800s, it was a gathering place for the Dakota.
Yep.
They considered the falls a very important place where people could gather in peace. However, Minnehaha Falls to the Dakota wasn't as important as two other areas in Minneapolis. One, Bedote, which is the confluence of the Mississippi and Minnesota rivers. And the other is Awamni-Yamni, which is St. Anthony Falls.
Neither of which have to do with Minnehaha Falls.
No. But that's what I'm saying.
You're just giving a little history lesson on.
I'm giving a little
the
history
importance
lesson
of bodies of water
as
to the Dakota people.
Yes, to the importance to the Dakota people.
Okay.
They loved Minnehaha Falls.
Okay.
But the other
but
two
not as
held,
much.
Well, right, which is why I'm getting to that they
It's like a middle
sold
child.
it in 1805 to this cat named Zebulon Pike.
Zebulon.
Yeah, he's very famous explorer in American history. Pikes Peak in Colorado is
I
Zebulon
didn't know that.
Pike, yes.
Okay. I drove over Pikes Peak once
Congratulations.
with my family in the snow. I thought I was going to die. I was in the back of the car.
God.
There were people flying by us doing like 60 while we're white knuckling it the whole way on the way through Colorado, man. It was a hairy experience with like little guardrails looking just straight down 1,000 feet.
I've been on those same mountains as you're talking about, and
Dude.
I had a panic attack, and I was driving, and I was like, ugh.
So no thank you, Zebulon.
No, Zebulon Pike.
Yeah.
He ended up he has a great story too for you listeners. Do yourself a favor. Look at the history of Zebulon Pike. This dude he got shipped off to parts of Mexico and then to be a prisoner. He came back. He was integral in the Louisiana Purchase, some Jeffersonian stuff. He got killed in the Battle of 1812.
Jesus.
And he's named Zebulon Pike,
Yeah.
for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's one of the best names ever. Also, shout out to my early Grand Avenue college drinking days. There was a band
Called Zebulon Pike. Wow.
Fronted, I believe, by Steve.
Steve.
I can't remember Steve's last name.
That's all you need, man.
He
Steve, the
was
perfect
a
name to front.
bartender at Billy's.
Zebulon
Steve Williams,
Pike.
I believe.
Nah,
Steve
just
Williams.
Steve. We're good.
I might be wrong. Don't aggregate me or fact check me, people. Anyway, so Zebulon Pike bought this land from the Dakota for the U.S. government in 1805. And it was U.S. government land from 1805 until the late 1800s. During that time, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, epic poem, The Song of Hiawatha, made famous Minnehaha Falls. And if you go there, it's all over the place. Interestingly enough, he never went to Minnehaha Falls.
You know this is getting turned into a big brain Andy
Oh,
time.
God, that's right.
Just say a bunch of big words real quick.
Yes. So Minneapolis in 1885 sponsored legislation to acquire the falls and the surrounding land as a state park. It was the second state park in the United States.
Really?
Yep. Don't
That's
ask me what the
interesting.
first one was because I learned about it.
Forgot
Totally
it one ear,
forgot
out
about
the
it.
other.
That's exactly right. So 173 acres of land for a park and a home for indigent soldiers had been chosen.
Keep going. Riveting.
The legislature gave Minneapolis title to the land. There we go. So the city of Minneapolis got title to the land that is now Minnehaha Falls Regional Park. And the park board has been, there since the beginning in the late 1800s. It's been many things. Did you know at the turn of the century, it was a zoo?
I just found that out.
Yeah.
Which it would be cool if it was still a zoo. I think it'd be
They've
cool
got
if there
enough
was a zoo
room.
there.
I mean, you can throw a couple of exhibits up.
It depends on what kind of zoo it would be. Like I want like I love Como
Yeah, Como's
because
great.
it's quaint.
Yes.
Although I feel sad for the gorillas every time I go there because it feels like some sort of like nuclear winter where the gorillas are living in this like terrible, just post-apocalyptic like tire yard of a fake tree land.
Yeah.
And the Minnesota Zoo is obviously beautiful, but they don't have like the big game animals besides the tiger.
They got the tiger. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I want
about
like
it.
hippos and I want big zoo animals, but then I feel bad that they're in such a little space. So I'm conflicted with zoos.
I think I'm anti-zoo.
Yeah.
I think it's cruel,
Yeah.
but I need to workshop that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like a hard take yet for me, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm transitioning
Yeah.
that way.
People need to be more like us, Casey.
Flexible, malleable in their
Yeah,
opinions.
people are too quick to give takes.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I
totally okay.
certainly am not quick to give a take.
It's totally okay to say, hey, I need more time to
Yeah.
develop a take on this.
Yeah.
Whether it be about zoos at Minnehaha Falls
Yeah.
or about tariffs of which people don't have any
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Whatever the
Yeah.
take may be.
Take some time.
Yeah.
Think about it a little bit.
The more you know. What else can we talk about Minnehaha Falls?
I'll tell you what.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you talk
No,
away,
I'm done
man.
cooking, man.
You've cooked?
I big brained Andy
All right.
that.
I like the bikes. I always had a good time
you like
on the bikes.
The Surreys.
Yeah, the little 4-seaters or
Yeah.
6-seaters.
Yep.
That was a nice family thing to do when I was when my kids were a little bit younger. Grandparents would come into town. It was a good way to see the park, kind of tool around. You could take it all the way down. We've seen people take it all the way down Mississippi River Road, damn near to Lake Street. I've seen people struggling to pedal those
They
bikes
leave
back
the
up.
park boundaries
Yeah,
real liberally.
But it's a cool little way to tool around the park, see what's going on, make your way up to the Wobbin picnic area.
Love Wobbin picnic. I mean, yeah, if you've got a child under the age of 5,
Yeah.
Wobbin
Splash
pad
playground.
park is
Yep.
great.
Yep.
And that's all part of the Minnehaha Falls
Yeah.
Regional Park.
I like going down into the falls themselves, or even just skipping the falls after a while because you're like, yay, the falls.
Yeah.
And going to the part of the creek where kids can swim and kind
Love
of
that
wade
part.
around, and like, there's that big field that lets onto the creek there where it's
You
shallow.
don't have to tell me, man.
I mean, it's the
I've
most
been there.
important place geographically to your life, apparently, as I
It
understand
is.
it.
It's the most, like, when I die, I want my ashes to be.
That's legit, man. I
Yeah.
don't have that strong of a relationship with it.
Yeah, I just live that close,
Yeah.
and I've had a lot of great memories.
It's good for
there.
ice cream.
It's great for ice cream.
I'm not a seafood guy. My wife would go to
Sea salt.
sea salt all the time if I was more of a seafood person. And I'm assuming that you love sea salt.
Okay, so
Do you have a mixed relationship? with it?
I have a mixed
hate?
relationship.
Okay.
So down at the falls, in the what would you call it? The building there in
Pavilion.
Is that what you would call a
Yeah,
pavilion?
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
pavilion.
As you all know, sits Sea Salt, which is a seafood restaurant that has been there for, what are we going to say, 15 years? 10, 15
Probably.
years?
Yeah, 15. Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 for
Yeah,
sure.
since we were at Salou.
Yes,
at
sir.
least.
Yes, sir.
So more than
And it's not talking about the food yet. It's amazing in the sense that it's this sense of community and it's bustling and there's people and you're sitting outside and drinking beer and it's sunshine and nature and trees and it's great. The food, not as good as it used to be, IMO.
Well, I feel like help me understand this phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Having worked in restaurants,
Yes.
I feel like there are two things at play. One is the first time you have something or when it's new, whether it's a type of food or a place or, like I think of the Twin Cities food scene in general, when there was like the first really good Vietnamese place or the first really good Thai food experience or something that I've never had really before. It holds like this special place in your heart. And then more of them happen and better versions of them happen, or it's just not new anymore. And so like it loses its luster and maybe it didn't change so much as your palate changed in realizing maybe what like good versions of things are. But then there's also this thing in restaurants where when you become successful, margins are so slim that you have to get the cheaper bread people or the cheaper fish people or the cheaper whatever people. And then by the end of the day,
That's what
it's
I
like
think this is.
the ship of Theseus kind of argument.
Yes.
Where like everything about the original restaurant has changed from a raw production standpoint, from a food perspective, that it just literally is not the same food anymore. It's not as high quality. Even if the recipes are the same, the food itself is not. And I feel like that happens to a lot of companies, and I don't want to shit on any company, but I don't care. It certainly has happened to Parasole. It happened to the Blue Plate companies. It like lots of restaurants go through that where you're like, damn, they changed up the turkey burger. They got a new bun. I'm hoping 112, again, they're unbanned. But if that was a decision based on margin,
They're banned again.
wrong decision.
We got to figure out.
We got to consider a ban again. But, so which do you think it is?
I don't think it's the first option, although that is a valid point. Because this is the only restaurant of its type in the Twin Cities. Like there's other seafood restaurants, but I mean, not really where you just go and you get
A po' boy.
or whatever. Sure. And sure, you can get calamari different places and maybe your calamari palate changes or whatever, but the calamari recipe is the same but it's just more hit and miss now where like the calamari when it's on is so good. And the catfish po' boy when it's on is so good, but it's just not on enough anymore.
Which begs the next question of consistency among like the chefs, right? Like we've all been in restaurants where we know that the A team is slanging great food on a Friday night or whatever, but at like 3 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. Shift change time.
It's not busy, but somehow the food takes twice as long and it's trash.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and some of that is the cultural expectations of a restaurant to like, this is how we do it. This is how we're gonna do it. You're gonna get trained in properly. And again, like whisper down the alley type of thing in the beginning of a restaurant when the person who came up with the menu is cooking it and training his sous chef and his line cooks on how to do it.
Or hers.
Or hers, thank you for that. Or hers, how to do it. 15 years removed from that, you probably are 100 plus chefs removed from that original training.
True.
So something's bound to fall through the cracks.
But recipes are recipes. They don't change.
They are.
And it's presumably a mom and pop operation, right?
Sure.
Where you don't have shareholders to answer to. You don't have profits you absolutely need to hit or else people are getting fired. You have more wiggle room where like if you need to replace the bread for a po' boy or an ingredient for the sauce for the calamari or something, you have the freedom to do whatever you want and you could just raise the price a little bit.
So are we telling Sea Salt to get their shit together? Is that what we're saying?
I want some consistency.
Consistency?
Okay, let's put a pin in that. What you have an option for now for you and your wife.
You said, you told me about this. I haven't yet to go, but
the sandwich room.
Yes. All right.
So next to Sea Salt, it opened last year called the Sandwich Room. It's fantastic.
Okay.
And it's a great complimentary option to Sea Salt where there's no long line.
Yep.
You can get your food pretty quick.
Yeah.
The sandwiches are amazing.
Yeah.
They're very, you're not going to get kind of what you're looking for in terms of like a hot melt
Well, we're gonna get into
Philly
this.
thing. But you get fresh, amazing sandwiches on great bread, baguettes.
Oh,
Oh my God. And you get, there's 44 different sandwiches.
sourdough,
Are we naming breads?
pumpernickel,
Rye.
rye.
There's 44 different sandwiches, but they only rotate like a dozen of them at a time. So those are your only options.
Do you want to hear my? Do you want to hear my not nuanced? I have no time for figuring out a hot take.
Love it. Hit me.
Minneapolis is trash for sandwiches. At me, I welcome the smoke,
Well,
and I welcome being wrong because you proved me wrong the other day.
oh yeah.
Where did we go?
We went to Clancy's.
Clancy's, and he said, "Do you want a roast beef sandwich?" And in my mind, I'm thinking hot roast beef sandwich with au jus, and just like how they would do it in Philly at like Nick's or something. No, it was a cold roast beef sandwich, and you are absolutely correct. Might have been the single greatest cold roast beef sandwich I've ever had.
It's so good. Clancy's. Shout out Clancy's.
I am rethinking my take. I am open to discovery of the Minneapolis St. Paul sandwich scene. So if you have any places that you guys know as listeners that you think make an amazing sandwich, hot, cold, or other, hit us up. This must be the place. pod@gmail.com or 612-234-1889 and let us know because I want to try these things because I truly have been like.
Are you a banh mi fan? Because
I love banh mi.
Banh mi is like my favorite.
Yep. But there's some things that happen on the East Coast with sandwiches that I haven't been able to find here. And maybe
Yeah.
it's just like a regional thing that you won't.
You won't. It's just we suck for what you're talking about.
But I want some things here that I'm like, wow, that's a special thing for here.
Marty's. Go to Marty's Deli in Northeast.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I used to love the Acme Deli in St. Paul before
loved
that
Acme,
shop closed
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So I'm
St.
open
Clair.
to reconsidering this take of mine. And we'll start with the sandwich shop. What's it called?
It is called what is it called?
The Sandwich Place?
The Sandwich Room.
The Sandwich Room.
Yes, it's right next door. Yeah,
Okay.
but they have sandwiches like, for instance, number 33, roasted turkey and goat cheese, on a patisserie 46 baguette.
You lost me at goat cheese.
Oh, you don't like goat cheese?
No.
Okay. What about a vegetarian riff on a caprese on focaccia?
That sounds good. Is there any funk on
Soft hunks of fresh mozzarella
Oh,
that are
that sounds
complemented by a grassy green pesto and sticky balsamic glaze.
it? Ooh, read some more. We'll do a new
It
bit
also adds a
called
snappy,
Chef Andy.
snappy vinegary slaw of red, white, and gold and purple cherry tomatoes.
That sounds very good.
You know
It
who
sounds
wrote that?
Summary.
M. Castle wrote that. What I
Did
just
she?
said. Yeah, she did. Yeah. She
Shout
wrote
out M.
Yeah,
for
she
the
wrote an article about the sandwich
right,
room.
because she's a food.
She's a food and
critic.
beverage writer. Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
And so we got to ask her about the sandwiches.
Yeah, you're right.
She's got to know some great sandwich. I mean, I kind of want to go to Clancy's for lunch,
I know.
but it's a long, cold drive.
That's right. It's cold out today. What else were we talking about? Minnehaha Falls.
I like the ice cream place at Minnehaha Falls. Sebastian Joe's ice cream, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but it's just an ice cream place in the
it's
pavilion.
just a little. Yeah, it's adjacent to Sea Salt
Yep.
and Sebastian Joe's, and the rotating flavor of choice they have is Nicollet Avenue Pothole, which is
yes.
the world's greatest
Yeah.
ice cream flavor.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I don't even know how to describe it. It's like I can't do it justice. You
Okay.
just have to go eat it.
So Nicollet Avenue Pothole
Yeah.
or Grand Old Creamery Black Hills Gold. Have you ever had that? Oh my God. To me, that is the single greatest flavor of ice cream ever.
Interesting. There's a Grand Old Creamery on Cedar and
On Cedar.
Minnehaha Parkway.
Close, yeah.
Is that the same one as the St. Paul
Same
one?
one. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Back over where IE used to be. They shut down.
Oh, they're open again.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, Travail.
Oh.
The Travail team took it over, and now it's called something to do. I don't remember what it's called because it just opened last week, but it's like IE by Travail or something like that.
Then that's phenomenal news.
Oh, dude, because that's my neighborhood. I can't wait. It's one of my favorite restaurants.
Yeah, awesome.
Minnehaha Falls. We're still talking about it.
Are we going more with the falls?
I just want to talk about one more thing.
Sure.
So I helped some neighbors and friends of mine that lived in the neighborhood. I live in Southeast Minneapolis. Long story short, they had their eye on one of a couple of houses. They really like a big old grand Victorian style house, and they wanted to stay in the neighborhood. So like it was a needle in a haystack, right?
Sure.
They found it.
Okay.
So if you're ever like around the 50th, the 50th Street and Hiawatha light rail station, and you look around, I'm not going to dox them, but you'll see a big yellow Victorian with beautiful like white and maroon kind of complementary details.
Sure.
Super detailed home.
Sure.
It's a stunning home. They bought that home a couple years ago, and I reached out to them. Shout out Steve, shout out Bree, Matilda, Rosie, and Betty. I reached out to them yesterday when I knew I was going to be talking about the falls because I wanted to talk about this house because their house was built in the 1860s. It's the oldest house I've ever sold.
Yeah.
As a realtor or otherwise. I don't know why I would say a realtor, whatever.
Not as a bar manager?
Not as a bar manager. Didn't sell a house from 1860s. But the house used to be I believe right around that roundabout where Dairy Queen
move
is.
it? Yeah.
They moved. Yeah, dude.
Oh, cool.
So when they built it in the 1860s, it was right around where that roundabout is now, where there's a similar looking house called the Longfellow House that's still there.
Yeah.
That's not, nobody lives there, obviously, but that roundabout by Dairy Queen, right by the falls there, I believe it was right there. And it got moved to its current location on the other side of Hiawatha, but it's just a stunningly beautiful, huge house. And Bree is really hip to the history of the house. We actually got, as part of the transfer of ownership, we have an original chain of title, like like freaking feather and ink licking the quill and writing your chain of title down and your name and proof of ownership and stuff like that back to the late 1800s. So they have that on in their house. She told me that it was owned by the Foster family for a really long time into the 1950s, but it was built by Franklin Steele, this house I'm talking about. And Steele actually built the first Hennepin Avenue Bridge, the lock and dams on the river, and basically owned Fort Snelling. He also swindled and tricked the native population to give up their land for a tiny amount of money. The Schwabel of Schwabel, Getz, and Sieben owned this home. And it fell into disrepair for a time.
What did
Schwabel?
What did he do to the indigenous people?
Yeah, exactly. And
don't talk too much stuff about Schwabel.
I shan't.
You'll get Schwabel.
Yeah, I do not want litigation from that man.
But anyway, we'll hire Nicolay.
Who's that?
Nicolay Law.
I don't know what
the bald dude with the beard who's on all
it's like
the sunglasses.
Chris Lindahl and him every other.
Yeah, I like him way better than Lindahl.
But anyway, there's the really cool old houses around there. You also. I know we're running long. We're running late.
You're just like.
But we also have the Minnehaha Depot, the Longfellow House that I talked about, and the John Stevens house.
What else?
It's my happy place.
What about the Cub food?
What about it?
It's there.
That's not on the Minnehaha Falls Regional Parkland.
No, it's not. You're right.
But it is there.
They have the little flower.
But there's so much
blooming flower garden.
There's so many cool things to just hang out, and there's events there throughout the summer. There is the Bluegrass Festival, if you like that kind of music. I don't. But it's packed with vendors. They do events. They do art fairs. It's my happy place.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
I talked all that time.
You've given me a lot of stuff to edit.
Sounds about right.
Look, man, I think that we should do a new segment.
In the year 3000.
Let's try that again. We got Bon Iver to do our.
In the year 3000.
What do we think housing will look like in the year 3000? In the future?
What a
what
good
will
bit.
What will the Twin Cities bring unique to itself, or just in general? What do we think? How are people going to be living in the future? Do you have any thoughts on this, sir?
In the year 3000.
Home prices will near record high prices, with the median home value being 10,000 Trump bucks.
In the year 3000.
People will live in pods where they will get their nutrients through osmosis as they sleep.
In the year 3000.
Climate change will have made it so that the Twin Cities are the most densely populated metro area in the country. Timothy Chalamet XIV lives in North Loop.
Minneapolis will be home to the largest skyscraper in the world, where every room is made out of screens that are modular and can reorient themselves, giving you an infinite number of layouts. And every screen can become its own environment. So you could go from living on the Sahara Desert or the wetlands of Africa, or right where you are in the largest skyscraper in the world in Minneapolis.
In the year 3000.
Mid-century modern will harken back to the 2950s, where the farmhouse chic stylings of Chip and Joanna Gaines make a strong comeback.
That's it?
That's all I got. I don't know how you got Bon Iver to do that bit for us, but oh, that's the best thing we've ever done.
Anything else you got today? Can I just say one thing? We're going to get into this. I know we're not doing a real estate topic today.
Yeah.
But the spring market is feeling hyper competitive very early. 2 bids on 2 separate properties last week, 1 to 6 offers, 4 of which were cash, well over asking, 1 to 9 offers, day 0 on market, all of which were cash. I'm assuming that it is going to close way over, like 10% over asking. Granted, there's still some things that are sitting out there for 150 days, but like the new good ones, it's a feeding frenzy, man, because inventory is just, it's so low within the metro itself, especially within like St. Paul, Minneapolis, first tier suburb kind of thing.
Yeah, especially in that 350 to 550
Yes.
range.
But even my, the $1+ million listing was 3 multiples and over asking. So it's
and when Casey says cash, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's got that much in their bank account. We were talking about this. Different lenders can concoct different ways to allow a buyer to come up with a cash offer.
Yeah. You might pay a % to the lender on the back end or something.
Yeah. There's ways to do everything.
So it just, my hope is that we are not headed back to a COVID-y situation. Because I have no interest in 15 offers on every house and like just buyers getting absolutely just disenchanted with their opportunities to ever purchase a house. It's already tough enough the process is already stressful and emotional enough.
I think that's why we're not seeing interest rates fall too much.
Yeah.
Because if the interest rates were in their 4s or something, then I think we would see that. But
Yeah, by hopefully that means some people get out of their houses though.
yeah,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
And we'd
right,
have some more
right,
inventory.
right.
If you're not choosing between a 2.5% interest rate
At a 7.
and 7% interest rate.
Right,
So
right.
but I just wanted to say that because I'm noticing it early, which begs the question as you're working with a realtor, check into their strategy of when they want to get your house on the market because if it's a good house, man, maybe you want to get it on earlier and beat the inventory rush and just fly over asking anyway.
Let's do March.
Yeah.
It's March in a week and a half, man.
That's right. Yeah. What else you got?
I had some boom times, but I'll save it for next week.
All right.
Let's get out of here.
All right. Have a good one.
This must be the place. Yeah, this must be the place.